U.S. intelligence intercepted Iranian communications, and that confirmed what we already kind of knew, and that is you cannot solve the Iran problem by bombing them. It's what I've been saying for a while. Right, so the intercepted communications said that even the centrifuges were likely still salvageable. And Fordow. And I'm not really surprised by this. Fordow is the most protected nuclear enrichment plant kind of in the world. It's built to resist these kind of bombing. Built to resist the bunker buster. So I think that there was energy cut off to the centrifuges, of course. But according to these communications, they were less effective than the Iranians even thought when designing Fordow. They were like less effective than even that baseline. But even if they were effective, right? Where is the uranium? We've intercepted no Iranian communications that say, oh no, we lost all of our 60% enriched uranium, right? That uranium is extremely important to Iran because it is their bargaining chip. It's their bargaining chip with the West. It is something that makes them a magnitude more powerful as a regime because it gets them latent abilities to build a crude nuclear bomb. And when I say crude nuclear bomb, I mean the kind of bomb we dropped over Hiroshima and Nagasaki, like a dumb bomb. Right, to make a smart bomb on a ballistic missile, they'd have to fit that warhead into like a compact space, and it's more technologically advanced. That would probably take them 3 years. I think that's where the U.S. intelligence puts that. And if they want to put that on an ICBM and send it over to Los Angeles, as Netanyahu keeps kind of insinuating, that would take them, I think U.S. intelligence on that is like 2035 or something. So at least 10 years if they go full bore from their SLV program into an ICBM program, into a nuclear program. So you get the point. These strikes did nothing to solve the Iran problem. How do we solve the Iran problem? We make a deal with them. We have to kind of play their game. And a deal with Iran that's meaningful, by the way, is going to involve some concessions from Israel. So what meaningful concessions do I want from Iran? I want them to stop funding their terror proxies, and I want them to get, if they can, them to convert into political parties and denounce terrorism and denounce violence against Israel, etc. What's that? What can we give them in exchange for that? Probably it's gonna involve some kind of solution from Israel on the Palestine question. We can probably get something from sanctions. They've said like their grand bargain in 2003. They were like our proxy groups are a red line, but if you're willing to discuss them, you're gonna have to lift more sanctions. So they're willing to discuss them. No, the grand bargain was completely defund the proxies. Later on, they were like, if you want to discuss proxies, you're gonna have to lift a lot of sanctions, even before we start talking. So it's gonna involve some concessions from Israel, right? So what does this mean for broader U.S. strike on, broader like U.S.-Iran relations, Israel relations? I think it blows the hole in the theory that we should be neutralizing Iran this way. Iran is a foreign adversary. They're going to be hostile towards us unless we advocate for a regime change or troops on the ground. It's going to stay that way until we come up with a deal with them, until we pressure Israel to give the Palestinians a fair deal, which is then going to remove their entire justification for their proxy groups. Again, all their proxy groups are either Shia Islam nationalists like the Houthis, or resistance organizations, and that's the way they justify it to their population, which is even in and of itself growing tired of sending money to these groups. They're like, we would rather have some kind of social welfare here than send them to the proxies overseas. And if they lose that justification, not overseas, if they lose that justification of the Israel question, like, oh, we're just resisting Israel, then their people would absolutely turn against them, because now there's really no reason to be sending weapons to these groups, right? So that's where most of it's going to come from. If you want to neutralize the uranium, this is also a poor way of doing it, right? If you want to neutralize the uranium, you have to be okay with them having a civilian nuclear program. To get rid of their latent nuclear ability, all you have to do is strike a deal where they would destroy their 60% enriched uranium and just do 10%. right? And allow inspections. But no, Trump went into investigations, went into negotiations, hardlining on uranium. He was like, zero enrichment, no enrichment, like Canada levels of enrichment. I mean, they're never going to accept that. That's a red line for them. That would involve giving up a lot of infrastructure for them. So they want at least to have some kind of civilian nuclear energy program. And Trump said no. It has to be 0% enriched uranium, which is a stupid line to draw. If you care about the 60%, then let them have the 5%. That's how you solve that question. It's not with strikes. They're not effective. Like, Iran is a massive place full of places where they could hide centrifuges and uranium. Pickaxe Mountain, we don't even know what's under there. Probably centrifuges and more enriched uranium. Imagine what else they're hiding. Iran is a huge place with a huge amount of people. There's zero way that we can solve this with firepower. And we went at the site with the biggest target on its back, Fordow. And it wasn't even effective. So, this kind of puts the nail in the coffin for the whole U.S. intervention in Iran. There's no shortcut here. You're gonna have to make concessions. And they're lucky that Iran was as nice as they were. Like, if Iran didn't give the heads up when they did their retaliation, like, U.S. troops could have died, could have been a disaster. They could have retaliated even more. Israel and Trump could have retaliated even more. So we got off lucky on how this ended. But it's just reckless. It's not worth risking it for zero benefit. But that's essentially my take on this. There's probably going to be more about this. It's going to be more intelligence saying that, they weren't effective. Trump's going to still go on Fox News and say it was the most effective operation ever. Just look at the U.S. military is amazing. How could they possibly not be perfect? I don't know. But that's it.